just know it's gonna be a lovely day today. I love nothing happening and just hanging from this shelf in peace and silence with no scary kids playing with me or any weird experiments. I think it's gonna be a lovely day.
In the last video, we got the crusty engine running, and you know what? It's not actually running that bad. In this video, we're gonna move back. The clutch is stuck. It could be a lever thing, it could be a spring thing, or it could be something a little bit more sinister. Who knows? But first, before we jump onto that, we need to conduct some very important experiments. Pop some water in there. Fuel in the priming tubes. Get it started up nicely. Whilst these are pretty good because you can pop some fuel in to sort of prime the pistons, and apparently they're very rare. There's a reason they're rare, and that's because they leak the compression. When the piston pushes up, there's a tiny little bit of the compression that is lost to these thingamajiggies, which is a bit of a bummer. Extraction fan, check. Right, let's see if we can get it idling again. Holy crap! Oh. So yeah, when it's spinning, you definitely don't want to have your appendages anywhere near it, because even at idle, yeah, it'll sting a little bit. So that's now out of my system. We can work back and move over to the clutch. I finally found this thing. This book I've had for quite a while. It turns out it was sat in a drawer underneath a load of towels. Very happy to find it. It is the Austin 7 manual by Boudreau. It covers pretty much everything. Comparing it to a Haynes manual and things like that, it is a bit on the vague side. It is still very, very useful. We can flick over to the engine disassembly section, and I think the most useful thing about this is the images. The images sort of describe everything that we need to know. Also, another pointer is these are up on eBay, and there are people trying to rip you off. Like, they're trying to charge like 150 quid for this, which is absolutely ridiculous. In the description is the publisher's direct email address. I think it is his wife. Contact them directly, pay on PayPal. With all things considered, it is very good to have if you have an Austin 7. So the crankshaft comes through the engine and then goes to the flywheel and clutch assembly, which is just underneath the starter motor. Let's pull the starter motor off. Off you come, wee lad. So in order to get to the clutch and the flywheel and stuff, we need to get the gearbox off, and I think the easiest way of doing that, not seeing it being done before or anything like that, is probably removing the prop shaft from here. So this is where the prop shaft connects up to the gearbox. If you look closely, this thing right here is actually a fabric coupling. Yeah, I'm assuming it's there to act as a bit of a soft point to stop like shocks going that way or that way from sudden changes and stuff. There's 6 bolts. There's 1, 2, 3 that connect from the gearbox, and then there's 1, 2, 3 that connect to the prop shaft. Let's remove the bolts from the prop shaft side. So, oh no, using chrome sockets. Ooh. Just look away now if you don't want to see chrome sockets on an impact driver. Oh. So now in theory the prop shaft will just pop off. There we go. So on the other side it's connected to this joint, and then this is like an old school universal joint, because after this it's kind of hinged for the suspension and stuff, so it bounces around. So we can just pull this out. Whee, look at that, lovely jubbly. That came off easier than I was expecting actually. Now with that off, we can pop it in gear and obviously block it off. Now it's not going to move. Yeah. So now let's try and remove the gearbox. I'm not sure whether it's actually attached to anything. No, I don't think. Oh, nice and loose. This has been done before. Doing it lightly just to not bugger anything up. All of the bolts that I've come across are Whitworth. These are 1/4 inch Whitworth. But luckily, or unluckily, they're loose as a goose. Now, I'm not completely sure how it's actually supposed to come off from this point, but oh yeah, just give it a thwonk. Same as usual, just thwonk it. Oh, it's starting to come away. Below the grease and grime, we'll see it's actually connected to the handbrake holder. So we've got to unbolt this. God, this is minging. Why did I think it was a good idea to leave it minging? Oh, it's coming away, it's coming away. Oh, here we go. That's gonna be fun to put back on. Oh yeah, baby. Oh, lovely. Right, I reckon we could get it off now. Oh, life's not easy with that handbrake on. Mess around with old cars, they said. It'll be fun, they said. I think I need to lift the engine up a little bit. Oh, it always goes this way, doesn't it? It always goes this way. Literally 4 bolts holding that engine onto the car. Pretty amazing, right? Oh, and I forgot there is also a rusty old exhaust that's holding it on there. Yeah, this was the easiest way of getting it off, and it's now a straight-through exhaust without a silencer. Lovely jubbly. Yes, they had silencers in the 20s. So we're going to now heave it off, get the gearbox out, and then try and get the rest of the engine on with the human hoist. Hello, well, come see the human hoist. Try and pick up an engine. It's not actually that heavy. It's only about 80 kilograms overall, I think. It's that sort of weight that's doable, but it's just not very fun. But you gotta get it done. So we're gonna measure this now because we're gonna make a stand. I had all of these fancy ideas of how to make a fancy, complicated rotating stand. I decided to go for the absolute simplest method, which is just making 2 side holders using ye old faithful, the Rapidor Manchester that I am aware some people might comment it is running a bit quick, but it's cutting, it's working. This blade is still going, and I've been using it relatively regularly for the last few months or so. But we're going to be taking this box section, cutting it down, and then taking a couple of other pieces and welding them onto them, and making 2 of them so they go either side of the engine. A grinder and paint makes me the welder. I ain't gonna paint it mostly onto the floor. Doop-de-doo. The next thing we're going to do is give it a good old clean. Yeah, I was going to try and keep all this grime and stuff for as long as I possibly could, but I've completely changed my mind now. So we're going to give it a clean, make it all nice and sprucey-magoosey, because the engine's running a lot better than I initially thought. But this manifold was completely rusted on. Those studs snapped off, so we've got to pull it off and have a look at those studs. So we're going to take the gasket off first, just to see what we've got to contend with. And it's looking pretty bad, to be honest. This whole block is, it's pretty on the crusty side. So these studs actually go into the water jacket. That means that they will be prone to rusting and locking up. So I've just put them some WD-40 on, let it soak, put these fancy red mounts onto the engine so we can get it up onto the table and give it a good old test. Put your back into it. You could do it. Come on. It's just a little bit higher. Come on, you can do it. Just give it a go. Oh, so close. Just don't drop it, please. So now we're going to do exactly the same with the gearbox, because this is as grubby as anything as well. So with a bit of engine cleaner and some elbow grease, we get it nice and shiny, and it looks lovely. Looks like new, doesn't it? This fabric coupler is the coupler that was connected to the prop shaft before. We're going to get rid of that because it's all buggery-duggeried, and we're going to get all of that cleaned as well. It gives us access to the rest of it. We're going to take the gear shifter off the top of it, which also opens up, and we can see on the inside and find out that it wasn't filled with oil. It was actually filled with chip shop curry sauce, but not the kind of one that you want to taste. But it looks kind of tasty, doesn't it? It does want to make you see what it tastes like, but we're not going to. We're going to resist the urge and just test all the mechanism. Works all right, but we're going to get rid of that oil because that isn't good. That is not good. Look at all of that sprinkly glitter dust. So I was going to edit this bit out, but I thought there was a lot less oil in there than there was. But, I may as well show my mistakes, right?
What an idiot.
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, no. Fuck.
After cleaning that up, we're going to bend it over, which would have been simpler with my swivelly McGivelly 3000 design that I made, but I cheaped out. So we're going to remove the sump and find all the grease and grime. This is basically a tea strainer, but for the oil. It's called the gauze, and that is basically the oil filter. It filters the oil as it drops down. We're going to have a look on the inside. This is the side plate on the con rods. The con rods actually, it feels like there's no forwards or backwards play. It feels really like there's no knocking, but the side play is quite considerable. So if anybody's got direct experience of these old 1920s engines, whether that amount of side play is quite a lot, because in a more recent, a newer engine, that amount of side play would be a little bit alarming, but in theory it shouldn't really affect it. But you know, what do you reckon? I think it's fine. It doesn't sound like it's knocking, and that shouldn't affect the knockingness because it's sideways. What do you reckon?
So the clutch works via the clutch pedal, which is connected to this rod. And as you push on the clutch pedal, this is the clutch pedal being pushed, it pushes these two forks forwards, which in turn push on this thingamajiggy right here, which can only really be described as the clutch bearing. It's a bit of a chunky clutch bearing, but these forks push this clutch bearing forwards on this shaft. I think this is the actual issue. This is all getting a little bit locked up. But then this other side of this clutch bearing, which is always spinning on this one, is connected to these forks right here. And as the engine is spinning around, we're including the flywheel, which has got the clutch pretty much inside of it. This side of the clutch bearing is staying very still and is connected to those forks that are connected to the clutch pedal. But then these little grooves connect onto these little rods. And as the pedal pushes forwards, it pushes on these rods, which in turn pushes on this thing right here, which is the other side of the clutch sandwich. The clutch is like a backwards disc brake, so the flywheel is the disc, and then the clutch, which is inside, is like the disc pad. So when these push in, it actually loosens the whole mechanism, which in turn isolates this shaft, which is connected to the gearbox, from the engine. But to take a closer look, let's take off these bolts and have a look at the clutchy sandwich. Yum, yum, yum. Don't actually know how I'm going to get that back on. That is a lot of clutch springs. Ooh, baby. Okay, there's the clutch. Oh, and there's the clutch plate. If you look at the bottom, you'll see the clutch, like a brake pad, is literally riveted on. That might be asbestos, just don't know. I mean, it looks like there's plenty of meat on it, so one can assume it's got some life still in it. Doesn't even look that used to me, but gosh knows how thick they're actually supposed to be. But look how much chunk there is on that. There's plenty of life left in this thing. So you've got this flywheel, which is rotating with the engine. And then you've got this clutch plate, which is obviously on the front of it, sitting right here, that is connected to the gearbox. When you push on the clutch pedal, it pushes these forks inwards, which ends up pulling this brake pad kind of assembly backwards, which ends up relieving this from its squeezed abode to be able to spin freely inside of the flywheel, which means you've effectively disconnected the gearbox from the engine. Then you let go of the clutch pedal, these springs push it forwards and squeeze it back in again, which adds a lot of friction, effectively connecting the gearbox to the engine again. This is the other side of the clutch plate, and there's still a lot of meat on it. Lovely jubbly. Having a close look at that flywheel nut, you'll notice that it has been hammered around quite a bit actually. So, I mean, there's quite a few marks all over it. So that probably points to the fact that this has been removed before, so it has been in pieces before, so it's probably been rebuilt at least a little bit in its 100-year lifespan. You'll see it's all minging in here, so we may as well pull this off as well and have a clean.
Using an impact gun to remove a hub nut or a flywheel nut is always the easiest, because you don't have to put a lever on the thing to stop it from moving. It will just shock it off. And this is a flywheel puller I got off eBay. It was £25. Very useful because it made it very quick to get this off. And this is one of the reasons that I removed the flywheel. I did drop this screw down there, but we could have dished it out another way anyway. But I just wanted to see what was behind it. The top left, you can see that is the end bushing of the camshaft. So you remove that, you can get to the camshaft and whatnot. But after we've given it a clean, we can start looking at these rusty studs. I decided the first port of action was to weld some nuts onto it. I should have covered up the tappets at this point, but hey ho. But they kept on snapping basically, and they just kept on getting shorter and shorter. So this is a video of me trying to loosen it, and slowly but surely the studs getting shorter, and welding more nuts onto it until there was absolutely no studs left. In this shot, you'll see that there's no studs left. So I use this custom manifold plate that we'll be able to make a custom exhaust manifold later on, but it acts as a drilling guide to be able to drill it out and then tap it for some new studs in there. We need to use Loctite on this to be able to seal it up, because remember, it goes straight into the water jacket. If we don't do that, then water will leak out of these holes via the studs. So once both of those are done, as straight as it possibly can, even though there is quite a lot of play in there because the holes on all the manifolds are quite big. So I blasted it with some air just to make sure no shards were going anywhere we didn't want them to go, like in the tappet chest thingamajig.
Now it's clean and we've had a good look around, let's put it back together again, which is basically backwards to what we did before. Actually going to look through this and go over to the assembly and just see, out of interest, what the Flywheel's torque specs are, whether it says it at all. Fit the rear camshaft bearing and joint washer, blah blah blah. Locate the Woodruff key in the keyway and fit the Flywheel tab washer and nut. Okay.
So turns out this was before torque spec, so as hard as you can, but I went for 150 foot-pounds, which is kind of like a standard for Flywheels, that kind of size, I think.
Now I'm not exactly sure how I was supposed to compress this all back together, so I've basically squeezed it at the bottom with a vise and a clamp at the top, and yeah, I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do with this because the bolts are not long enough to just do it on its own. So what I'm going to actually do, is I'm going to try and like string these together.
Me putting it back on, but you'll notice I have forgotten something pretty big. That, yeah. So we're going to put it back on again with that inside of it. So I couldn't find any torque specs. It doesn't seem they exist. So it's just all about feel and tighten it up to when it feels right.
Now that's on, let's finally cover up the bottom to stop it weeping all over the table. Oh dear. From this angle you can actually see the dipstick. There we go, and you can see the full mark where the oil's supposed to be sitting, so it's literally the height of the sump. That's where it is. This is the bottom of the oil pump. As you can see, it's pretty close to the bottom. That's sucking up the oil and spinning it out all over the place. This engine just throws oil all over the place via these jets right here. You can see there's a jet, it's like and the crankshaft have these thingamajiggies. The idea is the oil gets thrown around so much that the oil ends up going inside here and lubricating everything like that, like a big oil bath of wiggly woos. Oh, what a plonker. Nearly forgot the gauze. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we've got to put the gauze back on. This is the filter. We've cleaned it. It's still in good condition, so we're just going to use it again. Here goes. Pop in the sump plug, because if we forget that and pour the oil in, it'll all fall out again. We don't want that, do we? Cleaned the strainer that goes into the hole where you fill up the oil. We've got the oil cap, plonk that back in as well. So it is all making sense now. So you see this, there's like little bumps on the end of it. That would look like it's actually been welded onto the top. So it looks like these have worn down from so much use that they've had to add a bit more height to it. So interestingly enough, having a look through here, there's actually 3 more of these cam bearings. This one being the most interesting because it's actually had a repair at some point. These have worn through, but they've actually added pads to it. This one was on the car, and as you can see, it's got like indentations in there. So I might try this one and just see how that goes, because it does feel a bit like it's pushed a bit forwards. Bit too far forward, so I'm going to put some oil in this and see where we get to. There's another thing actually, these are also incredibly worn, and I know you can buy new ones of these. This is probably the thing that's the most worn out of it, so before it goes back in the car, I'm going to try and find some new ones of these. But for now I think this one was a bodge job to kind of circumnavigate that at some point for some car, probably not this one. Get it right. Yeah, that's pretty good, that. Also, have a look in there, that gearbox is way clean. Now, there's hardly any wear that I can see in there, so we don't need to pull this apart actually. Even if you look closely at the dog right there, like I don't think there's any real sign of wear on that thing, so gosh knows what that means about this, but who knows? Let's pop it on. Get it all lined up.
Here's a shot of me pushing on the clutch pedal. You see that the forks actually pull backwards, pulling back the clutch sandwich.
This is the gear stick. It literally connects into this hole and adds a lever to this control from the top. So plop it on, get it in the gap, and then we can change the gears much more simply. Oh, so here's third. Third is a 1-to-1 ratio. So when I spin this, as you can see, that is spinning 1-to-1. Second, I need to spin it quite a bit more. And then first, it's moving a lot slower, as you can see, and then reverse. It runs backwards, obviously. In order to start it, because we are going to test it on the table, let's put the starter motor on it.
After that, it seemed like a perfect opportunity to set the tappets and then put a new cork gasket onto it and put the cover on. After that, I put a new exhaust gasket onto it. I'm pretty sure this has got asbestos inside of it, but it's going to be fine. As long as you don't like break it up and snort it like lemon sherbet, just be careful around it and be aware of the risks. Just make sure it doesn't get airborne by crackling it all up to pieces. Lovely jubbly. Anyway, here's some more asbestos gaskets, and we're going to pop in the intake carburetor and manifold, and it should be pretty much done. Don't get me wrong, though, if there was gaskets that didn't have asbestos in them, I would have definitely have used those, but it seemed that for those ones there was only the asbestos type. Just got to breathe in. Now we're going to fill up the oil, and hopefully that's everything in the engine as well. Don't forget about that.
I'm having an absolutely lovely day. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh no, what's going on? What's happening?
Right, here we go, Furby. Maiden voyage. How many G's do you reckon he's going to make? Oh, this is so good. It's alright, mate. Right.
Holy moly.
Whoa, Furby's going. Back in. Whoa!
Furby flew.
Sorted. Yeah.
Well, I think Furby did pretty well. What do you think? I'm not really sure what the next steps are, because this engine's actually pretty good. Like, I know I started this project with the idea of completely rebuilding it straight away, and as you can see now, it's looking pretty good. What do you think to the condition of this engine? It seems to be a thing with these Austin 7s, as I can tell from the spares, that the clutch mechanism, all of it seems to wear out. And people add molten metal here and there, bits and bobs, which is actually quite nice to know that you can do that. Like, ultimately, if it's all a bit too broken, you could just shove some molten metal on it and fix it, which is great news. I have no idea how long this clutch assembly is going to last. It actually feels pretty good now, but gosh knows how long that's going to be for. So let's pop this in the car and jump on to the next thing, whatever the fudge it is. If you want to support this project, go and check out over on Patreon. I'll be talking about this and loads of other projects over there beforehand, and it, needless to say, supports these videos and makes them possible and gives the time to mess around with these stupid things. Anyway, I'm Sam, look, mum, no computer. This is a 750cc Austin 7 engine. This is the first Furby to hit 45 Gs, and if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe and don't forget to try it.